And welcome back to Hey Eintracht Frankfurt, the Bundesliga podcast covering everything in the English language there is to know about Eintracht Frankfurt, the best club in the Bundesliga, the best club in Germany, the best club in Europe, the best club in the world for that matter, but we're a little bit biased. I am your host, Brian Sanders. You can follow me on Twitter at KCSGE. Follow the show, Hey Eintracht Frankfurt, at HEF Pod. We have a Facebook group. Join that to get all new episode drops and English news on the Eintracht that can be found at facebook.com/HEF Pod. And you can also email us. That is heyeintrachtfrankfurt@yahoo.com. So don't do the show alone. And this week it's the full house as it always should be. To the east of me and KC, it's Nathan in St. Louis. How's the weather, bud?
A little frigid, but warms my cockles talking about Eintracht Frankfurt.
Indeed. Having already had some dusting of snow and it being pretty cold outside, I can sympathize totally with you. You know, you're only a couple of hours down that I-70 freeway. All the way out west, though, is Roman, braving the wildfires of California. Roman in San Francisco.
It's a little smoky. Greetings from burning California. Unfortunately, that is not really funny, but yeah, we stay inside.
No, Deutsche Pokalsieger? No?
Thought about it, yeah, but it's burning. It's burning, so yeah, you know, you started the introduction with burning California, so it's like, okay, now here I cannot put out the
Can't
chanting.
put out the fires.
Yeah, exactly. Can't put out the fire. But I mean, more is burning because our club is on fire too. So, but that's the good fire, though. The kind of fire we like. The herd of Buffaloes
rides yet again. Eintracht Frankfurt takes on Schalke 04. So, results ended up being Eintracht Frankfurt
3.
Schalke
0.
Danke.
Bitte.
3-0. All in the second half. Not gonna lie. First half was one of the more forgettable halves that we've had this season, but it just told me that the inevitable was coming on. So, watching this match at the Sunday home of the Bundesliga within Kansas City, I had a Strange A's Brewing Company in the River Market. A lot of people were watching Manchester United versus Manchester City and then wondered why a couple of randos were watching in their Eintracht whites, despite the fact that Eintracht playing for this year is playing their home matches in black. Wasn't the best of first halves, boys, but we didn't really need to wait much longer to be rewarded for our sticking to our team. Let's put it this way. Didn't have to make too many tactical changes, and go figure that Schalke just eventually was unable to poke through, and we kind of took it on from there. Eintracht Frankfurt taking the win. Hey guys, let's pause this real quick. And everything that kind of came with Eintracht as first half performance, it very much, I don't know if it would screamed the old style of Niko Kovac kind of trying to, bully their way through Schalke. I think it comes down to the fact that Domenico Tedesco, last year's Schalke team, was very much a team that prided itself on strong, sturdy defense. And it was the very first time it seemed that Eintracht really was going. I mean, they came up against Nuremberg, but the thing was, those guys were defending because they were looking straight to defend, not defend and then be able to be reactionary when they had a chance to break, which is what Schalke's MO has been. What did you guys kind of make of that first half?
Oof. I thought it was completely forgettable. Both sides, really.
One shot on goal in the first half. I mean, kind of says it all right there.
Yeah, it was really both teams digging in, not getting anywhere. The crowd was more of a news story than what was going on the pitch.
Yeah, not gonna lie. the way, I mean, look, full house for this match, but the first half left a lot to be desired. And, both teams playing kind of a weird looking three at the back from Schalke. But then again, we're not kind of familiar with the way that Schalke kind of plays on a week by week basis. I was kind of surprised at the fact that, with Rebic kind of playing behind Alea and Jovic up front with Deguzo and Fernandez behind him, I was kind of surprised that, they weren't able to get past the like Bentaleb in the middle of the pitch and Sane, who played right behind him. Those guys seem to be really, at least in the first half and really for the rest of the game, some of the guys who kept things going for Schalke. And I thought, okay, that is enough praising of the guys for Schalke, but let's kind of look at the way that the Eintracht kind of took it on. Kostic on the left, we had Costa on the right. Everyone put in an absolute shift. I think the only person who did not show up at the end of the day probably was Kevin Trapp, but then again, he didn't really have to do much, so you can't really say that he didn't show up. It's the fact that he was bored. He was very, very bored.
I think it was interesting that, first of all, that we got the magic triangle out from the starting lineup. I thought maybe Schalke, he's not going to go that aggressive, So I think that's really cool to see, that Hütter really goes that far where he says, okay, even against Schalke, we go aggressive. So that's pretty cool to see. Unfortunately, I didn't see the first 20 minutes because I was late to the bar. I watched in San Francisco at Danny Coyle's, and the BART was delayed, so I was late to the game. So I didn't see the first 20 minutes. A little bit on my phone, but what I saw was not too nice to watch. But then on the other hand, they just got back from a game, from the Limassol. So they had probably had tired feet for the beginning, to start.
Oh, come on. Playing in front of 12,000 Eintracht fans and a couple hundred other people, and then played it in front of the full might of the Commerzbank Arena, the Waldstadion. Oh, come on. That's
but heavy legs are heavy legs,
It seemed like they did.
And the other thing is, maybe they had so much fun the night before, with their girlfriends, that, they were a little bit tired in the legs as well, and they could have been like, we used to say, like, when I used to play soccer, it was always like, Bumsen macht die Beine schlapp, so basically it makes your legs weak. And that maybe was it for the first, 20, 30 minutes. But actually, I don't really have to, there are no big complaints because what I've seen, even though on my little phone, it was never really scary, right? And it was not that I saw a bad Eintracht performance. I was pretty, I think it was a stable, secure beginning of the match where they tried to test each other out, like, okay, how far can we go? Can we do this? And I think they one learning from the first half was in the second half, let's say, okay, let's just go, let's release the Kraken, and release the beast. So yeah, second half they let the Buffaloes run,
and run they did.
Indeed. I'd like to kind of bring up the fact that in defense with Abraham and Dika, I mean, the amount of running and coverage that those guys are providing, one with young legs, one with old legs, is kind of significant. Hasebe kind of is that nice, cool, calming influence that's right there at the center of it all. And I think it's key, really key, in the fact that you have a wise old head providing that, despite the fact that, his legs aren't exactly there, but, the very few times that Schalke was able to finally break it did seem that it always was coming in from the right-hand side, that they had any opportunities that we shut them down and just shut the door right in their nose.
Yeah, they didn't really have a big chance, I thought, like from the very beginning. So there was one Schalke fan in the bar, and he was still kind of optimistic, but it was just Zweckoptimismus, right? So it was more of a, a purposeful optimism, but not. He didn't have anything to base his optimism from. Whereas I kind of really felt comfortable, and I kind of knew, we're gonna bring this one home. Just the question was how high.
Exactly. Look at the triangle, as you kind of mentioned, Roman. Look at the way that those guys found each other on the pitch. Jovic being very much the guy who was very he was the guy who was making it into the box and kind of harrying defenders at that point. You had Alea just playing a little bit behind him, and then you had Rebic kind of throwing his weight around behind him. Those three guys, they just kind of, I don't know why there never seemed to be this idea that it could be done under Niko Kovac, but it definitely is just kind of like Hutter finally found a way to utilize this. And look, he played all three guys, in this match. He let the full might of the Buffaloes let loose on Schalke, and they did the business. Whilst I would have to say that, Kovac was never able to get it going, and Hutter has been able to rotate things around and has finally found that groove that the team really needed to get into to be able to properly, get the kind of results that we need. And suddenly we're scoring goals for fun in a manner that has not been seen in eons.
Yeah, and I'd say that nothing happens in a vacuum, and that those three guys are allowed their space on the pitch due to the fact that DaCosta and Kostic are just laying waste as wingbacks to anyone in their wake. They're also just excelling like none other as well, and that allows those strikers to do what they're doing.
And that's the cool thing. Like, you couldn't really single out one star of the team. If because once you start with Rebic and Jovic, you kind of okay, and Halle, obviously, oh my god, he's performing in an awesome way. And then you're like, and what about Kostic? And and of course Da Costa. And then you're like, when we started with Endika, what is this 19-year-old guy doing? And then of course Hasebe. Without Hasebe, like the offense couldn't even play the way they are, because they can rely really on that on that center back. So it's and of course Abraham as well, so each, like, there's not a single player where you're like, OMG, what would happen if we would be better on that position. The only thing is for Winter, when we think about how awesome the team is, to get better in, widening up the team, where you can say, okay, what happens if Da Costa is out, right? Endika and Salcedo has got to be maybe one problem solved, but, that's what we need to watch out for. What happens if Kostic is injured, or, if they get tired, because you could really see that they were really happy that now there's, the break, for the national teams, because they run, they fight. It's just so fun to watch. Like, and I think I talked about this in the last show. Like, it is just fucking amazing to see those guys, and it just reminds me of the good old 90s. It's insane.
So fun.
Yeah, unbelievable that we can see this. Is so get goosebumps, from the winning the cup, and now this is like, what the fuck, what are we pinch me, I'm like in a,
it's like, am I dreaming?
Yeah, exactly.
So here's
just don't wake me up.
Something that we need to start thinking about, because Timothy Chandler was recently in the news, as we kind of get into our news and notes, shifting away from Schalke. A little bit of some of the kind of players who have been utilized now. So Salcedo, he's going to be back, in relatively decent amount of time. Timothy Chandler has been in the news, talking about how he's really working hard to be able to come back, for the Rückrunde.
Chico.
Paciencia and Toro are some other guys who will kind of be taking advantage of, getting back to match fitness. I'm starting to wonder, like, We've already qualified, thanks to our most recent win in Europe. We've already qualified for the knockout phase. So we now have to think about, okay, so we're in the round of 32. These players will be coming back to fitness, or at least be available for selection. How do we start integrating them into the squad? Because, hey, we have rotated a little bit, getting Nikolai Müller, having him in, then taking him out, putting Marco Reus in, taking him out. Fallette has been a player who hasn't really kind of seen the light of day also much this season. Really all because of injuries, as he kind of gotten any real playing time. And let's see, then there was Chico, who hasn't had an opportunity to get on the pitch as well. I like the fact that Sendera, a local lad, has been able to get his kind of opportunity in. And then you have Alan, who's loan, what was it, from Liverpool?
Yep.
He's made very small cameos, but I'm still kind of scratching my head and wondering, it's like, when are some of the other guys going to have to start playing the full matches? Where are we going to need to start doing full scale, shifting of the lineups and such?
Yeah, but wouldn't you have expected it already in other games before? I really thought, after that Limassol match, there must be changes, even, I don't know, with Denny da Costa, the amount of what he runs, the mileage he puts on the pitch, and the same with Kostic. You're thinking, okay, now he's got to come up with something, even though I would not know how to replace them. But, I think as weird as it sounds, I think they're fit. They are capable of going the extra mile, I think that they use the extra breaks that they get. And for some reason, for some miracle, those guys are just running away and they're not stopping. It's unbelievable, because I would expect more rotation already in other games.
For sure. Yeah, and
so here's go ahead, Nathan.
We've been really lucky, knock on wood, that we haven't had much in terms of major, the starters in terms of injury. You can make arguments that we already have with and weathered through that with Indica and
Toro and Paciencia,
sure.
and even Willems in the beginning, when he got his red cards,
multiple red cards, and then he gets injured.
My argument there,
which maybe was the lucky thing, That's the other thing. Is it was maybe the best thing happening. As weird as it sounds, I never wish that to everyone, but Indica would have maybe not gotten the chance, to play. He would have maybe been, the second line of defense.
Exactly.
And so sometimes it's luck, that pushes you to crazy outcomes.
Yeah, but whether it's luck or we just working through it, we found the 11 that are working really well together, and we're gonna have to find those other subsets of players that can either fall into the system or have their own way, so that others can rest. If we're gonna keep making a dent in Europe.
Indeed. Because I think that...
Yeah, absolutely. And the team spirit is so unique, just the way they're happy. And for many other Eintracht supporters as well, the way that Rebic was celebrating Jovic's goal, was amazing. It's these things that are just the whole team is just one unit. And it was is non-German speakings, even the interviews that Danny da Costa is giving, where he kind of interviews himself. There is a slight of arrogance, danger here in the air, right? So, we're oh my God, now they know that they're playing well, and how long will this last? Maybe the whole Nuremberg match was the right, grab by the neck, to kind of show them, guys, got to watch out. But if they keep playing this way, if they keep their composure, and they're having so much fun, they're just unstoppable.
It's an unbelievable thing that we're in right now, and the fact that some player. Yeah, as you mentioned, Dan DaCosta. He has played, all the Europa League matches. He's played all the Bundesliga matches. Boy's going to need a rest at some point. I would think that, Willems or Tawatha, if we can trust him, might be able to help out. Or even Follett in a weird situation, maybe, if all things went to hell. We have the options within the roster. It's just a matter of putting those guys onto the pitch. So,
or he comes up with another magic idea, like with Kostic, right? Like who would have guessed to put Kostic in the offensive defense, so to say, right? Like they were forced to do so. So maybe if something happens really bad, maybe they take Paciencia and put him, I don't know, in the goal, whatever, and maybe and maybe it's going to work out. Who knows? I'm just saying, right? What kind of magic Hütte can come up with, and that's also his brilliance. Like, oh my, I'm Hütte. He's amazing. Like just after the Nuremberg
more of a
match
wizard
as
than
well,
even
right?
Gandalf from Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter himself.
But he has a good feeling, like after the Nuremberg match, like I don't know how Kovac would have reacted, like Hütte was like, oh my God, they're just tired, just give him an extra day. Even though maybe for regeneration purposes, it might have been nicer, if they had like a unit, like a light unit. But he's like, no, they need to get their head out, like let them stay away from anything green, leave them out, let them play PlayStation, whatever. And that was the exact thing that they needed, So the way he reacts to the team is, it's fabulous.
It's an unbelievable world in which we live in, considering what we were thinking about. In the first couple of matches, there was the Super Cup, there was the Pokal, and there was where we stood after 5 Bundesliga matches. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And maybe there was a little bit of luck, right? There was maybe this luck to find this starting 11, maybe we needed a few injuries. Maybe we needed a few, like the problems, with Kostic and with... Yeah, maybe we needed it.
Indeed. That all being said, that's going to wrap up segment one of Hey Eintracht Frankfurt. Next up, we have What Are We Drinking? So, Nathan, you're up. What are you drinking?
I cracked open a Urban Chestnut Schnickelfritz.
Schnickelfritz?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that? Schnickelfritz.
It's a Hefeweizen. Very, very fruity Hefeweizen. It's very estery, which I appreciate my Hefeweizens to be. So that's what I'm drinking. Pass it on.
So where's that Schnickelfritz from? Who brews a Schnickelfritz?
It's Urban Chestnut.
The Schnickelfritz brewer. Urban Chestnut.
Yeah.
And where is that?
In St.
Which
Louis.
state? Which? St. Louis.
Yeah.
They do a Schnickelfritz.
Yeah. It is
Who comes
a
up
choice
with these
beer.
names? I want a Schnickelfritz. I need to drink a Schnickelfritz at some point.
They're expanding. They'll get out there eventually. They make hella good beer. So
those are the type of words that you come up when you drink a lot of beer and you want to come up with a German word. Then you come up with Schnickelfritz, right? That's exactly.
Yeah, the head brewer of Urban Chestnut is from Munich, and he said I don't know what it means, but I forget what he said.
I don't know either what it means.
I forget what he said it meant. Talking to him, I don't remember.
Schnickel. I don't know what a Schnickel is. I mean, I know Schnicken. So Schnicken is kind of like when you flip something with your fingers, kind of like etwas schnicken, wegschnicken. Mm-hmm. But Schnickel, yeah, it must be something Bavarian. So we would need a Bavarian. Somebody to our crowd right there, if you know what a Schnickel is, what's a hashtag Schnickel? And let us know what it is.
Please let us know the meaning.
The Google search says it's dialectical Pennsylvania Dutch, which is a form of Old German meaning mischievous, noisy child.
And Schnickel.
Interesting.
All
Roman,
right.
what are you
Well,
drinking?
This is the vocabulary of the day. Oh, I'm boring. I'm drinking water, guys. I
Need to clear the lungs.
I'm exactly. Yeah, I'm drinking what we need. No, I'm still fasting, so I'm
Still
drinking
fasting,
water.
huh? Had too much fun and back home.
No, I try to. Long story. It's not of interesting of anyone here, but I'm trying to get my ketone levels higher, right? So
You're doing the keto diet?
I'm trying to feed my brain.
Oh.
No, I'm not doing a keto diet because that would mean I would eat. So I'm fasting. I'm not eating. So in that case, instead of feeding sugar, carbs, protein, whatever, I don't feed anything. So I'm feeding my brain with ketones. Yeah. San Francisco guys, that's just weird. When you live here, you do these things like meditation, fasting, and all this kind of brew your own kombucha and shit like that. So that's just what you do.
Entertaining. So
San Francisco.
My turn. Took a lot of searching.
Yeah. What are you drinking,
searching, and I got some Posman Ebovoy to enjoy. Talk about the Eintracht. I mean, what's more Hessian than that? What's more Frankfurt than that? I ask you. No said.
That's a good, not a lot. No, that's all I can get. I mean, we could just debate about the brand, right? But I mean, Postman, I like it. I like Postman. And it's awesome that you get them here. Unfortunately, if here in San Francisco, you get like the cider, the sweet one from Postman. And I don't like this. But then, yeah, it's for the public market. But it's so cool that you got it. I need to get my source, my Everboy source.
So that all being said, we'll be back in just a jiffy with segment 2. Stay with. And here we are, segment 2 of Hey Eintracht Frankfurt, talking now about news and notes. So, international break. So, we'll take a break from the Bundesliga just a little bit, talk about some of the Eintracht players out on international duty. So, no test match for the Eintracht as they are being allowed to recuperate just a tiny bit. You know, hey, it was a busy time for Eintracht Frankfurt. You know, pretty much playing 2 matches per week nonstop. So some guys, they get to kick the feet up and relax. They got half the week to be able to, you know, just recover, let the body just rest. Makoto Hasebe has kind of talked in the media about how enjoyable that is to be able to say, hey, you know, now that I'm done with international duty, no longer have to worry about this, you know, traveling for him playing for Japan, you know, traveling halfway across the world to play in international matches, then whoop, jet set right back on again. I mean, rough stuff that he's now able to avoid. But we had a few guys be called up to the Serbian national team, Jovic, Kostic, and Gasinovic. Kostic has now been dropped because he's actually getting some sort of a tooth operation. Kind of a weird thing that he kind of pulled out for you. I mean, hey, I guess the UEFA Nations League thing, I don't really fully understand it. I get it. You know, trying to keep, you know, things away from just these meaningless friendlies, you know, where Tajikistan plays Croatia and Croatia guys, you know, well, you know, once you get past the kind of top 14, then it's like, okay, the rest of the guys, they're just kind of making up the ranks. Some might say, but yeah, kind of like the fact that you have big teams playing big teams, and then the little teams can be forgotten while they play other little teams, but you know, then they can move up the ranks, blah blah blah. North America is creating their own version of this, but it's very much more of I would have to say a slow burn as they're trying to get through to letting the lower teams qualify themselves into which level they'll play in, and which is a qualifier also for the CONCACAF Gold Cup. But I'm very focused on our neck of the woods here. So, Israel is in action. Tawatha is again playing for them. No real surprise there. Despite the fact that he hasn't had as many opportunities there, they then will have a pretty crucial match against Scotland. So that could be interesting, if only for my own local interest as one of my own local teams, Sporting Kansas City's national team member, it plays for Scotland. And that could be rather interesting. Just saying. Some of the other guys on display. So we got Falet, who has been called up by CONCACAF's side. No, not CONCACAF. An African side, Guinea. So he's been called up the Guinea. The Guinea national team. I'm not really familiar with these guys, but hey, good luck to him. My knowledge of the African continent when it comes to soccer is not world class, but it is his
Nigeria
connection
and
to
Ghana
there. In case anyone's like, why? I guess his grandmother was born there. So hey, look, you got the opportunity to do so. Get off your butt and do it. They're in the World African Cup of Nations qualifier against the Ivory Coast, so no weak team that they're playing up against. And so good luck to him on that. A little bit more competitive sort of match left to go for him. So it looks like in their current position that they'll be qualifying for the 2019 African Cup of Nations, as long as they also get a good result. So good luck to him on that. That would be really cool that we would be having a player playing in a summer tournament coming up this summer. Some of the other players that are going out there. So we mentioned the Serbians. Marco Fabian is with Mexico, despite the fact that he hasn't really done anything for the Eintracht for weeks. Indica,
which is really interesting, no? Isn't that a little bit like almost
that
worrisome?
He's still being called up? I think that's more worrisome, I would say, to the Mexican national team, because then it kind of says the weakness of the Mexican domestic league, as a lot of players have been leaving Mexico due to issues that they are having with their own clubs, and I could probably go on and on about the issues that are going on internally with Liga MX, but don't need to do that. Indica is with the France under 20 team, so they're playing against Norway and Switzerland. Good luck to him on that. Ronald is with Denmark as they face Wales and the Republic of Ireland. Two countries who would prefer to play rugby as opposed to soccer. Just saying, Six Nations and all that jazz.
No, they want to play. They really want to play Gaelic football or hurling.
Hurling, yeah.
Yeah. The rest is all British sports. I mean, the Northern Irish, they probably like the rugby and the football, but the Republic people, they probably want hurling.
I know that at least Wales is
sport.
really into the rugby, but I think that's kind of all the rugby talk that we're going to do on this podcast. Someone has actually seen the Six Nations match. I think that's you, Roman. I've seen it once on TV, like ages and ages ago. But anyways, so some of the stuff that's been swirling around with Eintracht has been with the success of the three of the triangle. There's been a lot of transfer talk that has now popped up because, well, let's face it, when guys play like this, they will attract attention. Now suddenly it's like, Bayern Munich is realizing, oh, wow, we really missed a step. And now they're interested in everyone at the Eintracht.
The question is, who will be the coach when they come to Bayern? That's the other question.
They do hold on to Niko Kovac. I do think that multiple guys could go to Bayern, but the likelihood it won't. Personally, I don't think it will, but that's just me.
I don't think they can afford it, as weird as it sounds. they cannot.
And how is
they
that
cannot.
impossible?
I think that's the real
This is
struggle that Bayern will
Munich.
have.
This is one of the creme de la creme teams in the entire world. How could they be broke? Not necessarily broke.
Yeah,
but,
well, they're not broke at all, right? But they can't spend 120 million on a 19 or 20-year-old. They're just not. They can't spend 250 on a I don't know, on some other dude. So the problem that Bayern is going to face is they will either get out of contract players, so players where the contract runs out in Germany, or German nationals, so to say, right? Because I can still see that a German national, kind of like a Goretzka, they're like, oh yeah, I go to Bayern. But these international players, also what we have to see due to football leagues, we know that there are probably some other interest groups involved as well in those players, and they will make sure that the highest amount of cash is going to be received for a transfer. And this type of money you do not see in the Bundesliga. You see that in England. That's just what it is. And I think the amount of money, because I think even Newcastle can put more money on for a player than Bayern Munich.
Yeah, but Newcastle is also a team that's flirting with relegation, not a team that's going to be playing for the Bundesliga title every year and be one of those top 8, top
4 exactly. So that's the other thing, is
vying for the Champions League every year.
Yeah, because Rebic and Jovic, they're not going to go to Newcastle, right? They're going to go to one of the top teams. And I think there is interest from the Manchesters and whatnots. And then if that race comes out, then Bayern is just not gonna have a say. As weird as it sounds.
Indeed.
Especially with those guys, like with Uli Hoeneß. Like, give me a break. Like, as a player, you want to go to Bayern Munich? Like, no way. Of course they're gonna go, but they would go but they don't have the cash, they don't have the experience. And if they're going to get rid of Kovac, and apparently there are also rumors, that they've been approaching Zinedine Zidane, and which I think is the worst thing. If those rumors already start, that's basically the end of a coach.
Yep.
But why does Rebic want to go there?
Yeah, I think those rumors of them going to Bayern probably end if Kovac leaves, in my opinion. I feel like he's the one trying to get those specific players. There's, like you said, there's plenty of people in Germany that are more of that Bayern type ilk, that they can buy low and develop if they need to actually replace the dinosaurs on their team.
Yeah, which is going to be interesting for them, because not even from Dortmund they can buy players, right? Because the really top players, they go to England. They don't stay here in the league. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting how they're gonna attack this problem. It will be interesting to see.
I would totally agree with that, because let's be honest. What's the likelihood that we'd activate the buyout clause with Benfica for Jovic, and then he doesn't? Like, what's the likelihood that he then goes away? I don't think that is really that likely at all, because I think that Eintracht, staying on the present course, we're talking about us being fourth in the league. I think that those guys really are enjoying playing together. I mean, sure, they can go to Bayern, but then the thing is, guess what? You just remove yourself from a really good spot, and hey, look, if
Kovac.
Yeah, no kidding. Look, it's one thing. It's one thing to. It's one thing to leave a team and then just not set yourself up to succeed. It's another to go from strength to strength and waltz into, say, a Tottenham Hotspur side after another year of killing it for Eintracht Frankfurt, and then voila, you are a star for that team. Yeah, if you really want to be all about the money,
it's going to be interesting, definitely. Well, it's not only you who decides as a player; it's also like all the other stakeholders, so to say, that have a little say, and even within your family, right? Like that's another big topic. Like But that will be very interesting to see, especially in the Rückrunde, when when the rumors come about. I mean, right now everything is like in the happy place, right? So the Frankfurt guys, they're having fun. You see them playing. Oh my God, everything is cool. And even if they maintain that level, where they enjoy this, the minute that we hear the first rumor or the something that Bayern buys Rebic at the end of season for, let's just say 70 million, just to put a number out, that's going to start not really a chain reaction, but it's going to, change the whole dynamic in the team. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's absurd to really think that all three will remain at Frankfurt side in the next season, right? As much as I wish, and that's probably the thing that what annoys me the most is that we're not capable of even keeping those players for another round. But it's kind of, I think it's an illusion to think we're going to keep all three. But once the rumors start, that can kill your, especially the last mile on the run. Like let's imagine the team plays that well in for the next games as well, right? I'm not saying we're going to win the championship, but let's say we, like last season, we have the run to Champions League, where you can say, oh my God, we can qualify for Champions League. And, one or more game goes off the table. And then, of course, more and more other teams are going to be interested in our players, Mm-hmm. And maybe it's not even going to be Jovic. Then, then there is, Indika, maybe even him. Or, okay, Hasebe we're gonna keep. That's the good news. But then he's also a little bit older, right? So it will be interesting to see how at the end, how this might change even the dynamic of the current game once the rumors go out or the first signings take place. So that's going to be
scary indeed, but I'd like to think that some of these guys would be interested in becoming an Eintracht Frankfurt legend, not just, in terms of what they do on the pitch, but what they become off the pitch. As Roman, we kind of hinted at this in our last podcast. And why don't we kind of come full circle here before we talk about the breakaway for segment 3, Bundesliga, and just kind of wrapping up with housekeeping. Eintracht Frankfurt has come out with these legends of the game that are kind of now as ambassadors, but Roman, kind of break down to us. I mean, I've been able to speak to Oka Nikolov, and we've been able to kind of highlight how much of a giant in the realms of former players that he is. Cool. And there's some other guys who were also brought in. And what was that? Was that Wednesday of last week before the Eintracht took part in the Europa Cup. You want to talk a little bit about this, Roman, or shall we say that for another time?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I said that in the last podcast, but happy to repeat because this was for me when I saw the selfie that Jon Age Fjortoft posted, I was like, oh my God, all of them, Yeboah, Okocha, Oka, Bumkuncha, and I think I told the story that Bumkuncha lived across the street, and Chen Yang, but he wasn't there. But another Chinese player we used to have a long time ago. It's just amazing, and I think the way you started, Brian, is exactly what we need. Who's going to be the next legend? Who's going to be the one where the kids in 10, 15 years are going to look back, or 20 years, and say like, oh my God, remember that time? Of course, there's Alex Meyer. He's going to be one of the legends. Maybe Marco Russ, because of just the extended time he's been on the club. But after that, it already, slims down a little bit. Francisco Copado is not going to be the legend, so to say. But with that triangle, and if you say, as you say, Brian, if we keep one of those players for a few more years, let's say, I think Kostic, for example, is also going to stay for a few more years. So I think Da Costa even as well. So if we keep Da Costa, he definitely has potential. Also from a character, people just love seeing him. His interviews are funny. He's witty. He's smart. He's just the kind of guy a PR agency loves on the team, and of course the fans do too. But if Rebic, for example, if he stays 2 more seasons with us, he's going to be our superstar. And if then he goes to a Chelsea or something, and then he becomes like the mega international superstar, that kind of like battles with the Neymars and the whatever, then he's going to be the big Frankfurt legend, because he did something big for this club as well.
Yeah, Boom Kun Cha, one of the players who kind of came before I had become an Eintracht Frankfurt fan. Okan Nikolov was kind of the first one for me.
Same here.
But Jan Age, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name.
Fjordtoft?
It's a mouthful, bruv.
Yeah, but you've seen Jan Age's goal, right? The Übersteiger. I don't know, how do you call that in English? I don't even know. Have you seen that one? The last goal he made against Kaiserslautern, the 5-1.
To
famous
keep us
goal.
up. And send Nuremberg down, and
I still remember that.
Meant that us and Nuremberg were eternal enemies for life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a legendary goal, and of course he was also the good character. Same thing. His interviews were legendary. He was the one who said with Jörg Berger as the coach, he said if Jörg Berger would have been on the Titanic, he would have saved the Titanic. And when Felix Magath, when he was coach of Frankfurt and he also saved Frankfurt, they asked him, would have Magath saved the Titanic as well? And he was like, I don't know whether he would have saved the Titanic, but everyone would be fit on the ship, So it could have swum a little bit longer. So he was, a legend as well on that side. And of course, with Boom Kun Cha as well, his son played in Frankfurt as well, Duri Cha, right? Which is, he had a great chant as well, a great song. This do, ri, cha, 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 duri, cha. So that was kind of funny times.
That's great.
And of course, there's also a hip hop song, I forgot how that goes, some duri cha. I forgot how that goes. Yeah, so we have to Google the Duricha hip hop song, So good times with the son as well. So when you have the father and the son, that's also, of course, a nice story. And of course, Yeboah. Everyone knows Yeboah. No introduction needed.
Same thing.
Okocha, same thing. And and Chen Yang. I mean, we didn't see him there, but he was through bad times at Frankfurt, he was a scorer, who scored a lot of goals. And he was Chinese, so probably he maybe we have 1 or 2 Chinese fans because of him. But that may change now.
As for funny interviews, Danny DaCosta, you don't get funnier than that. Basically saying right to the media, it's like, all right, I'm going to answer all your questions for you. So did we play a good game? Well, of course we played a good game. We played pretty good. We were able to score some goals. And it's like, what do you think of Schalke as a team that you're going to be facing in your next match? Oh, Schalke's going to be really tough. It's going to be, hard to play against them. We're going to have to stick right to it. I mean, you can't make this.
How did you get the translation? Did they have a translation out? Did they have subtitles? Or
I heard it from someone who was able to give me a loose translation on the fly, which had me in tears. It had me in tears, guys. Just saying. So.
The second interview was legendary as well, right? Which was totally ironic, right? But or sarcastic,
to him and all the other players,
As long as they keep the performance on the pitch, it's all good. That's the only thing. I mean, because these kind of things can backfire, right? Because there can be a little bit of arrogance in the whole thing, but as long as they give the performance on the pitch, they can do this kind of shit. Indeed. I'm happy.
So, all that being said, we'll close this segment on news and notes for Eintracht Frankfurt and go right to segment 3 with Bundesliga and household news. So stay with. All right, segment 3, Bundesliga talk up ahead before we close the podcast. So, boys, we're in 4th, but we're not the only team mixing it around, changing things up. Okay, so we're at the November international break, and this was seen as kind of a moment where, hey, we would know. I mean, it's practically 1/3 of the way through the season. We would know where Eintracht is going to finish. 4th place is pretty amazing, but let's look at what's going on in the rest of the Bundesliga. If matchday 11 had not been what it was, where the bottom 3 teams all won, and brought themselves closer to where the rest of the league is, I can't seem to understand how Bayer Leverkusen and Schalke are just so bad, languishing around in 13th and 14th, just hanging around with the rest of the relegation, fodder. Granted, Stuttgart is in there. They spend a lot of money. But, I mean, of these teams, Leverkusen 13th, Schalke 14th, Nuremberg 15th, 16th for Hannover, 17th for Dusseldorf, 18th for Stuttgart. I mean, we knew that both promoted sides would have a really rough go of it. Hanover looked like they were ready to fall apart, but I mean, I mentioned one team that's playing in the Europa League right now and already qualified for the knockout phase, in the spring in Leverkusen. And we got Schalke, who have already guaranteed Europa League qualification at minimal in their Champions League group and still have 2 matches left to go. And they're on 14th. And then Stuttgart, who, if it wasn't for our Pokal win, they would have represented the Bundesliga in the Europa League, and they are dead last. I mean, will one of these 3 big fish, will one of them go down?
It's a good question.
I don't think so.
But
yeah, Nathan, you go.
Schalke, I think, will find their way. Their misfortunes are a little more explainable to me because of injuries and whatnot. Their Champions League play is a little less explainable to me. But the likes of Bayer Leverkusen, it's kind of, I kind of feel sad for Radetzky, but I don't. At the same time, either one of those 2 or both of them will change route. I don't think Stuttgart's gonna get any better. I think they're just in full free fall.
Which is weird, no? You would not. I mean, they invested so much money and they don't have bad players, and
yet it's going to at least take another coach for them.
Yeah,
I think.
Oh my God! Or they need a proper training camp or something. Maybe maybe they did something wrong. Maybe Typhoon Korku did a horrible preseason. They may have to make something up and then they have a good run. But I mean, that's the thing, the Bundesliga, you have one run in the Rückrunde, and you're out of it, right? I see on the long run, though, I see problems for Nuremberg and Düsseldorf, even though Düsseldorf with Funke, if they're gonna, but I think Stuttgart is going to be lucky that there are other teams that are worse. Augsburg is a little surprised, I have to admit.
They seem always to be a good, sturdy, middle
and
of the road team. Just maybe they'll have the 1 year where they put things more together. And hey, they finished in 6th that 1 year and made it to the Europa League knockout phase, played Liverpool, and nearly put them out. And Liverpool made it to the final. That was a Liverpool team that had Jurgen Klopp finally at the helm. So there's always little surprises. Yeah. I guess we could say that the biggest surprise is Bayern Munich. Well, or not really a surprise, because, I mean, when you have a team that is aging in the exact opposite of a fine wine. I mean, and then you have infighting. It's kind of no wonder that Borussia Dortmund is all the way at the top, but it just kind of makes me wish that Eintracht Frankfurt was able to, we'll just face them in the Rückrunde, and then we'll see who's really the best. Boy, that's going to be a rough run of games where we'll face Dortmund, Gladbach, Leipzig, Bremen, currently in 7th at the moment. That's only broken up by the likes of playing Freiburg. That's going to be a real test for us in the Rückrunde. But all things being said, we now know kind of the match times for the remaining matches of the match. The Hinrunde, Hertha Berlin on the 8th is going to be Topspiel, so good on that. We play the late kickoff on Wednesday for match day 16 against Mainz. We play match day 17, Topspiel versus Bayern at home, so chalk up 3 points there. Throw in Wolfsburg, throw in Augsburg. We play Leverkusen at home on Sunday after our final match in the Europa League. So the Sunday after our trip to Rome. Here's hoping that everyone comes home safely from that. And boys, just saying, we could seriously be in such a good spot that we cannot be knocked off our perch. Pun intended.
Yeah, that's going to be, it could be. The Champions League is reachable. I'm not saying we will anything, but I don't know who's supposed to stop us right now. Obviously the bigger teams can, but even if we would play Bayern, I would say next week or the week after, I would say we would stand a chance. Probably it's going to be different by the time we play them. But I also think in the situation we are in right now, we could beat the bigger ones as well. It's a shame we already played Dortmund as well. It would be now interesting to see Frankfurt play Dortmund now. I wouldn't say that we're the so much better team, but that would be, those two aggressive offensive teams playing each other would be, from the style of soccer, would I think be the highlight match of the season, just by the style of soccer, because it would be really interesting to see them battling it out. Or even like with Bremen. Bremen is a little bit on a dent. We played them while we were not yet on the top. So it's and if we keep this way, I don't want to. Oh my God, it's going to be okay. I got to stop talking because now. Because we, at the other hand, we know our Frankfurt, we know our diva, and at the end, but I don't see it this time. That's the difference. Usually I'm always the guy who says holy shit, this is just a momentarily situation that we're lucky. But I more and more see more potential in the team, it's, and if nothing really goes really wrong, like with bad injuries or whatever, then let's imagine
why don't we
buy
just
new players.
Say to heck with the Bundesliga and just win the Europa League. It's conceivable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's win Europa League. Exactly. Shit. Baku. It is Baku.
That's a long ways away.
Already book your trips
they
to
at least
Baku.
Speak Farsi there, and I speak a little Farsi. Lazio will join us. Arsenal will join us. Zagreb, one of the few teams who have won all 4 of their matches, will join us. Zurich, actually, if Eintracht played Zurich in any round of the knockout phase, that would be a full house in Zurich, which half the fans would be Eintracht fans. Chelsea, who wouldn't want to go to London and show these Englishers how old fans really are? Yes, Emmy, I totally agree. Hey, Eintracht Frankfurt should actually do a road show at one of the road matches in Europe. Why not? Or we can just wait until the final in Baku and just enjoy it there. Kickoff time in Baku. Yeah,
Still looking for sponsors.
Still looking for sponsors for that. Kickoff on Baku will be at 11 p.m. local time. So, that all being said, boys, we do still have a couple items yet to raffle off. Roman, we were looking to raffle off during the international break. Which shirt will we be raffling off?
I think we should go for the kids' black ribbage. What do you guys think? Should we go for a kids jersey or
Yeah.
Which
Why the heck
one?
not?
Rebic will be Rebic, the cup winner himself. Why not get your kid all suited up to accompany his dad or mom? You know, it could be, but the mom could be the Super Eagle fan, and we'd all head down to the Florida Cup all together in January and look all spiffy in our Eintracht shirts. Accommodations will not be included with the winning of this raffle, but we'll be auctioning that off before Eintracht takes on Marseille. So, that all being said, gentlemen, it's time to wrap up this great episode of Hey Eintracht Frankfurt. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here. We have more Eintracht news that will be coming down the pike. We'll also have an episode right before the American holiday of Thanksgiving. So right as the Bundesliga is about to bring back up to speed. So that all being said, Roman, where can we find you in the social media landscape of the world?
You find me on Twitter, SF Bay Eagles, and in the local Denny Corals pub. Actually, we're going to have a San Francisco Eintracht happy hour tomorrow. So if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, so Friday, I don't know, let's see if the thing is out, but you can stop by, reach out to me on Twitter or Facebook or our club on Facebook, and we'll let you know where it is. We haven't decided yet the location, but it's going to be another San Francisco Eintracht Frankfurt happy hour.
There you go. Nathan
Friday.
in St. Louis, where can we find you in the social media landscape of the world?
You could find me.
Minus on the Enterprise Arena, home of the St. Louis Blues.
the very struggling St. Louis Blues, living up to their name. You can find me on Twitter at NAJAKWA.
And you can find me, Brian Sanders, at KCSGE. Home of the Bundesliga is KC Beer Company. We are looking for sponsors, and perhaps, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, we'll have one coming down the pipes. So, that all being said, how to reach Hey Eintracht Frankfurt? You can email the show at heyeintrachtfrankfurt@yahoo.com. You can also reach us out on Twitter. That is at HEFPod. Facebook.com/HEFPod is where you can like the Facebook page and also get all the up-to-date news in English covering Eintracht Frankfurt. Wherever you download your podcasts, whether you found this from a friend or from just searching in the iTunes world, you know, rate us and like us there. We'd love to get some feedback on there. And so, this being a platform for all English-speaking Eintracht Frankfurt fans, this is for us all to enjoy following our team. So, that all being said, from all of us here at Hey Eintracht Frankfurt, it's Tschüss.
Tschüss.
Hey, Eintracht Frankfurt, schalalalalalala. Hey, Eintracht Frankfurt.